Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to talk about why rape is increasing in India. When we talk about rape in India, we are not talking about isolated incidents or rare crimes. Every few days, a new case flashes across the screens, becoming a trending topic and then slowly fades away. The outrage rises like a wave and collapses just as quickly, leaving behind the same broken system, the same dysfunctional structures, and the same cultural problems that have been here for decades. The first and the biggest reality we must confront is patriarchy. It is the invisible force that shapes our home, our schools, our relationships, and our daily behavior. Patriarchy is not just a word, it is a mindset passed down like inheritance. From the time a boy is born, he is often treated as superior, stronger, more deserving, and more important. Girls are taught to adjust, compromise, stay quiet, and follow rules. Boys are encouraged to be aggressive, dominant, and fearless. Girls are encouraged to be polite, obedient, and cautious. This unequal treatment forms the foundation of gender inequality. It teaches boys that control is natural and teaches girls that resistance is dangerous. When a society repeatedly tells men that they have authority over women, some men begin to believe that they have ownership over women. That ownership turns into entitlement, and entitlement easily turns into violence. The second issue is the massive underreporting of rape. Official statistics only reveal the crimes that reach the police station, not the crime that happen in silence behind doors. A huge number of rape survivors never file a complaint because Indian society does not support them. Instead, it questions them. Families worry more about reputation than justice. Communities gossip more about the victim's character than the perpetrator's cruelty. Court cases drag on for years, draining survivors emotionally and financially. In such an environment, reporting becomes a traumatic ordeal. The result is that many perpetrators continue living normally, protected by silence and stigma, while survivors are forced to carry lifelong trauma alone. Another factor is the weakness of India's criminal justice system. The police are overburdened, undertrained, and sometimes prejudiced. Many stations lack women officers or proper training to handle sexual violence. Evidence collection is often poor. Investigations take too long. Court processes are painfully slow. Survivors spend years fighting for justice only to watch many perpetrators walk free due to lack of evidence or legal loopholes. India's conviction rate in rape cases is low. When criminals do not fear the law, crime naturally increases. There are districts in India where women do not even consider approaching the police because they believe nothing will change. This is a failure of an entire system, not just a single institution. Another reason for the rising cases is cultural misogyny. From advertisements to movies to songs, often objectifies women. For decades, film portrayed stalking as romance, aggression as passion, and harassment as entertainment. Thousands of young boys grew up watching heroes harass heroines until they fell in love. This encourages the idea that women's boundaries are flexible, that persistence is attractive, and the force is justified. When entertainment repeatedly shows women as objects, society begins to internalize it. Young men imitate what they think is normal. They do not learn consent from education or from family conversation. They learn it from media, which often teaches the wrong lessons. Women in India grow up surrounded by restrictions, warnings, and fear. Instead of teaching boys not to harm, we teach girls not to be harmed. Girls are told not to stay out after dark, not to wear certain clothes, not to talk to boys, not to travel alone. These rules reinforce the idea that women are responsible for preventing violence. Meanwhile, boys grow up without accountability, without any emotional education, and without understanding boundaries. When a society raises girls with fear and boys with freedom, it creates an environment where women carry the burden of safety, while men expect compliance. The growing population and economic pressure also play important roles. India has a massive youth population, but many young men lack proper education, employment, and direction. When large group of young men feel powerless, frustrated, or disconnected from society, some express that frustration through aggression. Crimes increases when people feel hopeless or unsupported. Urban migration has created crowded cities where men live away from families, often in cramped or stressful environments with no emotional guidance. Social isolation and economic instability can amplify toxic behavior, especially when combined with patriarchal entitlement. India has one of the lowest police to population ratios in the world, meaning law enforcement cannot keep up with the scale of social change. The digital world has amplified the problem in ways India is not prepared for. Many young men learn about sex through internet, often through violent or non-consensual content. Without proper sex education, they misunderstand intimacy, consent, and relationships. The internet also hosts misogynistic communities that glorify aggression, demean women, and spread harmful ideas. Young boys, especially those feeling insecure or frustrated, are easily influenced by such content. Digital harassment and cyber stalking have become common forms of sexual violence. The virtual world gives predators anonymity, making them bolder and shameless. One of the biggest failures in India is the absence of proper sex education. Schools avoid discussing sexuality, consent, or healthy relationships because adults believe it encourages immorality. As a result, children grow up ignorant, misinformed, and confused. They do not learn about boundaries, respect, or the emotional aspects of relationships. They learn about sex from unreliable sources, from peers, from rumors, or from pornography. This lack of education shapes their behavior later in life. Countries with strong sex education programs tend to have lower rates of sexual violence. India ignores this lesson due to cultural conservatism, and the consequences are devastating. Substance abuse is another factor. Alcohol does not cause rape by itself, but it lowers inhibitions and intensifies aggression. Many perpetrators commit violence under the influence of alcohol or drugs. However, the deeper issue is emotional immaturity. Men in India are rarely taught how to handle rejection, manage rage, or face failure. They are encouraged to be dominant, but not taught how to be empathetic. Without emotional intelligence, frustration turns into violence. We must also acknowledge the mental health crisis among Indian men. Society expects men to suppress emotion, never cry, never ask for help. This creates internal pressures that may erupt violently. Many men lack healthy coping mechanisms. They turn to aggression, alcohol, or violence instead of communication. If India wants to reduce rape, it must begin at the foundation. It must start with families teaching boys respect, empathy, and boundaries. Schools must provide proper sex education and teach consent as a basic value. Police must be trained to handle cases sensitively. Courts must deliver timely justice. Communities must support the survivors rather than shame them. Societies must challenge patriarchy in daily life, not only in speeches. And men must be taught that masculinity does not mean dominance. For meaningful change, we must accept that rape is not merely a crime, it is a symptom of a deeper sickness. It is a mirror reflecting misogyny, inequality, violence, frustration, and silence. The increase in rape cases is not just an accident, it is the result of decades of neglect. It is the result of refusing to confront the truth about ourselves. Thanks for watching.